My team member saw everyone's salary, and found out she was underpaid compared to her peers. Now, she's threatening to quit on me. I work at a mid-sized industry S-corp as a controller, and after 2 years of toiling with the owner, finally convinced him to hire some staff for the finance department. Currently have a finance manager, junior accountant, and bookkeeper in my team, all of which do an amazing job considering the circumstances we're expected to meet. CEO is a massive senile idiot, who undervalues the finance department and think we're all a waste. He complains the department is too large, when he expects us to not only work on main parent company, but also his 3 subsidiaries, one of which is an SA and a major headache to balance each month. Our bookkeeper 25F only has an associate's in accounting per her agreed contract to educate herself as she works. She's extremely driven, catch a lot of finer details, and a studious worker. It's also a bonus she's always willing to put on more work and wants to learn from everyone. However, while grabbing stuff from the main workhorse printer, she saw HR's payroll timesheet and saw everyone's salary. I've been trying to convince the CEO during this year's review to raise her salary from $50,000 to $60,000, as well as maybe get her a title promotion to accounting assistant. She's genuinely a huge asset to our day-to-day, but CEO refuses to acknowledge her merits. I keep telling her I'm desperately trying to boost her wage, but I can see her getting depressed. Worst part is she's not confident she can compete in the job market right now until she at least has her BSA. Any advice on how to coach her? I genuinely feel sorry for her and think she's a tremendous worker. We're a fairly profitable company, but CEO refuses to reinvest into the businesses. So we have more than enough room to raise her and honestly quite a few other salaries, but he's a moron set on the mindset that finance department is useless. 2 Thanks everyone for the advice and being a place to bounce thoughts off of. I'll try to make an update post next week since I had the meeting with HR and our upper management about it. Now for the comments. Commenter just be her reference. Help her get out of this shithole by hyping her up to other employers. I'm sure at your position you may have some connections. Original poster That's the hard part. I keep encouraging her and giving her positive affirmation that she'll succeed no matter where she applies herself, especially within accounting since she has a great niche for it, particularly in the tax prep side. But she's very soft, and I'm not saying that in a negative light. It took me well over a year to break her out of her shell and actually apply herself and speak up. I've told her if she truly wishes to leave, I'll vouch as a reference and also see if I can set her up with opportunities, but she won't bite. She's that genuinely rattled that she's her own words not going to make it in her current educational status. Commenter Then she needs to be encouraged to get her education. Allow her to study at work during downtimes, push for tuition reimbursement if that's not already being offered, be flexible with her hours so that she can attend classes. It doesn't make sense that she's asking for more money where she is if she doesn't think she can get more money somewhere else. You push for raises based on your marketability and you're prepared to walk out if they can't get you up to because someone with a degree and credentials that you don't have is making more than you. That's not how it works. Original poster Full reimbursement as long as she gets an A. It's how she got her associates by taking the fundamental courses at a local college while working. However, some of the more advanced classes she can't take all at once, so she's now back to 1 or 2 classes a semester. The current route is almost 2-3 years until she's near her BSA. It's how I managed to convince CEO to hire her. Her employment contract lists she needs to be actively furthering her education. Otherwise, she's liable for termination. Commenter I second the be there reference. If you can't win the fight, time for you all to jump ship. You're probably underpaid too. Original poster I am $14,500 underpaid the market average in PA. Considering I'm basically doing work for 4 companies, severely underpaid. But I don't mind it as much since I'm closer to home, actually get OT pay here prior to my previous job at before, and WLB is worth the pay dip. However, I may jump ship within the next year if CEO continues down this route. Commenter You should fire the HR staff who printed everyone's salary and left it at the printer. Then use those savings in payroll to give the bookkeeper a raise if she deserves it as you suggest. Original poster I had a meeting with the HR staff about 2 hours ago. They kept writing it off as an honest mistake and apologized to the bookkeeper for the situation. I'm also setting up a meeting between the CEO, CFO, myself, and HR to discuss the impact of this situation, and how ducking reckless them using the main printer when they have their own was. Commenter What is your goal here? Doesn't sound very productive. There are idiots in every company. Original poster One of the many hats I wear is also adjusting company policies, for all departments for whatever the reason. CEO wants the controller to do it, so I just do it. So, while the premise of the meeting itself doesn't sound too productive, It's still a good way for me to have the CEO to acknowledge what went down. Like I said, he's borderline senile and needs these sorts of meetings to know what happened. Also, if the bookkeeper decides to leave, I need to have the assurance that the CEO knows the reason why specifically. Not that she left because she sucked at the job, or some other nonsense HR will probably tell the CEO, but that what caused the initial reason is due to HR's lack of compliance to their own conducts. That way, if I need to find a replacement, which I will because we're honestly overworked, the CEO can give me shit for needing another person. Commenter: just a general question that has been floating in my head since we accountants have pretty good access to financials within the company we work for, but wouldn't the bookkeeper have access to everyone's salary anyways? Original poster: I think that varies on separation of duties. Traditionally, bookkeepers do often can issue payroll if HR doesn't handle it. However, in my company our bookkeeper only sees the total per pay period, not at an individual level, as myself and HR fill out timesheets and process payroll due to CEO's weird confidentially paranoia. So, she may have had an assumed figure in her head seeing our total monthly payroll expense, but never knew how much everyone made. I think what got her is seeing a certain employee's figure, because they are notoriously a shit worker but gets paid a lot due to CEO's racial bias. Update 1. So last Friday, I had a meeting with the CEO, CFO, HR, and myself to address the idiot HR manager using the main copier to print payroll timesheets. The meeting itself went awry, with my focal initiative being centered on addressing lack of compliance to policy, and leak of confidential payroll details leading to immediate consequences of disgruntled employees. Apparently not just my bookkeeper saw it, but a few others as well, so, the HR manager profusely apologized and the CEO basically kept excusing her lack of discipline. The CFO and I already laid out a game plan prior to the meeting, so we discussed how the bookkeeper is disgruntled and it's beginning to affect her commitment here, highlighting that she's a valuable asset and human resource to the finance department, and company overall. CEO asked what my proposed solution was, and I brought that with this year's review for 2023, we give her a title promotion to staff accountant junior accountant. This would then give more validity to raising her salary from $50,000 to $60,000 to match market rate and PA on the min range and help retain her dedication and excite her requirement to gain advanced education BSA and beyond. This is where shit hit the fan. HR manager says that's not a reasonable proposal and tries to convince the CEO to basically shut this whole meeting down. CEO, being senile and already having a negative opinion on the finance department, was easily getting swayed and kept asking for the CFO's opinion. CFO, being a massive kiss ass, tried to play both sides because he's aware that he can't afford to anger the CEO or myself since I basically do all of his work anyways. HR manager then pulls an extremely childish, borderline insulting, move: if she's so valuable, why not forego part of your own bonus for the 2023 review and give it to her? Here's the thing, I'm very fortunate to be considered a valuable member of this company, and my annual salary and bonuses are pretty high even though I'm still below market average for controller. I also receive an incentive pay for working on the CEO's of the 3 subsidiaries, which I could cover the $10,000 raise that I'm proposing for my bookkeeper. As I am also underpaid, I also work my butt off for those bonuses and incentives, and unsure if that's 1 even legal and 2 a viable way to sustain a staff's pay. HR basically just told me to pay my own team's salary, which I'm still pretty aghast they would recommend such action. I didn't provide an answer yet, and luckily the meeting concluded since the CEO had a prior engagement to attend to. My bookkeeper is still at the company, but it's pretty obvious her confidence and vibrant energy is gone. I haven't told her about the details of the meeting, but I can tell she's anticipating an update. Genuinely, she's a great worker and I would love to keep her at the company, so I can continue working with her and developing her accounting career. This is my first time encountering a situation like this in management, so I'm unsure what the move is here. If anyone can provide some advice, that would be greatly appreciated. Now for the comments. Commenter: I want to know what the consequences were for her HR employed. Should have been written up at a minimum. Original poster: the other HR staff, who I personally think should be the manager instead as he's more objective and stoic, has told me little tidbits here and there. Basically, HR manager just got written up and a small yelling at. It was basically the equivalent to a slap on the wrist. Other than that? God, who knows? She seemed pretty satisfied with herself walking out of that meeting. Commenter: I'd leave a place like this so fast. Your boss can't wholeheartedly have your back in a situation that you have a clear reasonable answer to? Peace out. Original poster: CFO has told me on the side he's willing to increase my bonus this year to basically brush this aside. Trust me, I'm genuinely contemplating it. Commenter: this is all kinds of wrong. You're combining two different issues into one. Issue 1 Data breach. Issue 2 Disgruntled employee and review of finance team structure. Issue 1 isn't really your direct concern. Head of HR and CEO to discuss. Data controller 2 if you have one. Complain that your direct reports are disgruntled at the misconduct and leave it at that. Issue 2 isn't any of HR's concern. CFO structures the finance team as they see fit. CEO signs off any changes to budget and headcount if needed. I wouldn't pay any credence to the HR manager's bonus comment. It shows their immaturity and other will notice. Original poster. I'll try to provide more details that I maybe should have included in original post. Issue 1 is my problem because for some reason, the CEO made policy and procedure the controller's job instead of like most other companies where either HR or COO handles it. So, for some reason, it's fallen on my lap to make sure every department is compliant to their own manuals and overall company manuals. Issue 2 is also a problem I have to address with HR involved, as for some reason the CEO drags HR into the employee reviews. It used to be just CEO and department managers to review with their team's performances, allowing said team members to sit in if they request it. However, a year after I started, CEO has incorporated HR into it for some reason, and now weighs their honest impartial opinions on the matter. It's driving me nuts even typing this. Commenter: so, wait, the HR has a seat at the table regarding their opinion, but doesn't have the responsibility over policy and procedure execution or even following it. So is HR just in this company just the payroll department but for some reason gets treated like an executive? Original poster. Spot on. Our HR department is just basically there to listen to employees complain, do bi-weekly payroll, and basically fulfill executive assistant duties. They don't even do their own recruiting or screening. We literally have to expense anywhere between $30,000 $80,000 to hire a recruiting firm every time we want to hire new staff. Commenter: this is a clown company. You bluntly said your leadership is a mix of kiss-ass, senile, and incompetent. What are you still doing there? Original poster: protecting my team's interests. After I know they're taken care of, then I'll make my decision to dip. I feel like what I'm saying is green and too hopeful, but I at least want to keep my responsibility to them and do as much as I can for them before I leave. Commenter: leave and take everyone worth half a shit with you. Original poster: I have joked in the past with my finance manager, junior accountant, and bookkeeper that I'll kidnap them and start our own firm. Maybe it's time to force that joke into reality. Lol. Update 2: I'd first like to say thanks to everyone in this sub for their genuine comments regarding the matter. I've worked in accounting for roughly 6-7 years thus far, but only 2-3 in a management controller position. This situation overall, and the feedback from multiple people, has honestly been an essential learning experience, so thank you. CEO, CFO, and I had a final meeting while working on Saturday. We sometimes work Sats with OT pay, only until 11 a.m. so WH workers can catch up on orders. Basically, the CEO said he can't do $10,000 and a title promotion for someone who doesn't even have their BSA. CFO and I argued back saying she's more than qualified in accounting experience, and that I personally gauge her around the same level as a staff accountant. CEO, pretty disgruntled, said he won't do it and that a $4,000 raise was all he could do for her, and then he went with HR's retort and said if she has that much potential, then Yumi can pay her that bonus. While I do think this is an overall win, I had a feeling my bookkeeper wouldn't be very happy with an 8% raise. Many people have voiced that my bookkeeper may be asking too much, but as her manager I truly do value her discipline, work ethic, and development thus far. So, on the drive home, I steeled myself to basically cut $6,000 of my bonus and provide it on top, so she can earn the $10,000 raise. Fast forward to today, I had a meeting with my bookkeeper in the morning and told her about the results of the review. She was definitely not happy and grew even more disgruntled at the fact that I was giving her part of my bonus. Maybe I am still too green, but I wanted to be honest with her. I was hoping that if I tell her that I'm willing to pay part of her bonus, she would feel that even if the company doesn't value her, that I still do. I guess it had the inverse effect on her, as she started crying and thought herself as even more of a burden. I told her that if she needed, she could take as much time as she wanted to think about the offer, and no matter her choice I'll support her. About 20 minutes after the meeting, she asked if we could have a follow-up meeting. Moment, we get in, she bursts into tears again. She starts profusely apologizing for not meeting standards, that she felt like a burden, that she caused me so much trouble arguing with HR and CEO, and that she was formally quitting as of today. I tried to tell her that I do not blame her, nor think she is unqualified because I meant it, to try and calm her down. I tried to diffuse the situation best I could, by telling her I'm not giving up on her review and that I'm still pushing etc., but nada. She left as of about 20 minutes ago writing this post. Last thing she asked me was if I could help her revise her CV, and if I could get in contact with my network connections, to which I told her of ducking course. I'm writing this on my early lunch break because I'm ducking shattered. I know I can only provide her some connections, and maybe a great recommendation letter, but I genuinely feel like I let her down. This is a crushing defeat for me, and I'm pretty exhausted trying to cope with it as it's my first time in management dealing with this. I couldn't do it, guys, and it's the worst ducking gut feeling I've ever experienced in a long time. Now for the comments. Commenter: what else do you need to see to convince you that they don't give a duck about you, or anyone else? Original poster may be seen as a stupid reason, but after today I feel like I need to really step up for my other two team members, junior accountant and finance manager. Even if I leave, I want to at least secure them good reviews, or set up some sort of a safety net in my absence, especially because now I know the CFO won't do jack squat for my team. Finance manager has more years than me, and the only reason he's below me is because he never decided to further his education. He's got a great head on his shoulders, and I imagine he can easily take up my position. Junior accountant is still learning, but he's a great guy. Same with the bookkeeper, hardworking, amazing work ethic, and strives to continue learning. So, I'd like to at least secure him a promotion before I leave. Our company does reviews per employee very, very slowly. Commenter: that sucks. Sounds like you didn't fail anyone here. The leadership put you in a no-winner position, and in doing so revealed how much they value you, your team, and your function as part of the business. The real question is, what is your next move? Original poster: I've never stared at my CV this long in my life. I'm contemplating leaving, but going to first entertain the idea by looking at job postings in the tri-state. And I appreciate the kind words, but this was a great learning opportunity for me, albeit in hindsight I'm extremely bitter about losing such a talented staff member. Commenter: open feedback: as a manager, you shouldn't have told that much. Being a manager is not simply being transparent to those around you, but more being transparent while filtering the noise, reformulating bad news. It's also about putting things into perspective, especially for new young hires. You could have presented the $4K raise for the bookkeeper as a win with an incentive to have them get their degree. Here's already $4K, and we can discuss compensation further once you get your degree. If you really insisted on getting her $10K while axing your own bonus, you should have never told her where it comes from. In essence, you guilt-tripped her. There was no reason to give her the full explanation in that case. From my perspective, you were too empathetic with your employee. Remember, they had already gotten a hefty raise after only a year or two within the company, and I remind everyone here they're only 25, are yet to have a degree, and then you get her another 8% while her title or education hasn't evolved? You should have put things into perspective and rationalized the situation. Instead, you've pressured your employee into rethinking their career choice, and feeling guilty about getting a raise since you explicitly told her it comes at your cost. Original poster: I appreciate the feedback. I guess I did begin taking a more subjective stance on the situation, as I tend to pride myself in trying to be a good team manager. That's entirely fair criticism, and I can now see the value of how a white lie may have preventing me from guilt-tripping her. I intended it to be more of a duck the company, you're great to me message, but I think I read her stance wrong. Thanks for the drill down, this is honestly great. Commenter: man, original poster, it sounds like the most crushing thing is the fact that she still feels like a burden, and that you feel like you couldn't get across that no, she's not a burden, as evidenced by your willingness to give your own money to her to keep her around because you do value her so much. Am I pegging that right? Anyways, whereabouts are you located? I just started as an associate at a small public firm that's always looking for new staff, and in my limited 3 weeks LOL experience, they treat us right. I can refer her to the firm and see how it shakes out. Original poster: yeah, it's getting to me on a personal level even thinking about it. I plan on reaching out to her to have lunch or dinner at least once before she lands herself in a new gig. Entirely selfish, but I need to know she understands I never saw her as a burden, only a positive asset. She's smart, so she'll figure it out herself, but I want to make sure this incident doesn't permanently dent her ego. Commenter: do you have feelings for her? Original poster: haha, I can see why it may be taken that way, but I can soundly say I do not. This isn't a slight to her, as I think she's great both as a team member and as a person, but I'm already infatuated with my current SO. I just personally dislike it when people pour their heart out, and that's not reciprocated properly. As her ex-manager, I still feel like it's my responsibility to ensure her some closure on that front. Commenter: please update us with the CEO's reaction. Do they realize they might be losing you as well? Original poster. I'll try to make another post if I ever make a decision. I don't want to seem like I'm milking this situation for karma or something. CFO at least knows I'm extremely pissed at this outcome, but CEO probably doesn't even care or know. Edit. I've been drafting up a proposal to bring in tomorrow, currently at home since took a half day. There where she quit, but I'm going to shove this proposal one last time as a last-ditch effort. At this point, the worst-case scenario happened, so no loss on my end trying one more time. Update 3. I wasn't planning on making this post, but well over 200 plus people thanks for flooding my inbox. We're asking for any major updates if they happen, so just sharing for people's peace of mind, I guess. Just a minor update on both the bookkeepers, and my own, statuses post-whole HR debacle. Thanks to everyone for the guidance, and words of encouragement to bolster my steps. Bookkeeper and I had lunch on Wednesday last week to discuss her future plans. She's still pretty beat down by the situation, but guess she hasn't been dragging her feet since she asked me for a recommendation letter plus to be a reference for a couple gigs. She still plans on furthering her education, whether or not an opportunity arises, so at least she's still encouraged to continue her accounting career. On Saturday, I got a text from her saying she was able to land a gig at a small, family-owned firm as a staff accountant near Delaware. Starting wage is $58,000, 4% match, and a bunch of other benefits, so she got herself into a very good opportunity. I told her that as long as she applies herself the same way she did her previous experience, she'll do great and wished her the best of luck. She still plans on continuing communication, sort of as a mentor-mentee relationship, and I told her I'd be glad to. As for myself, I finished reviews for my remaining team members and quit as of last Friday. I wanted to make sure my team was well taken care of, so that my exit wouldn't leave too much of a gap in work for them. Managed to get my junior accountant promoted to accountant plus a 10% raise, so pretty glad I got to do one thing right there. To no one's surprise, the CEO and CFO were blindsided and tried to retain me in a panic on Friday when I was packing my stuff. Pretty much forced me into a meeting, offered me $24,000, 8 more days of PTO, and letting me WFH on Fridays, even though that's not really a perk for me. As much as I would have loved to have lived everyone's quitting fantasy here, I just simply left it as this summarized. If they truly valued me, as well the efforts I've made to improve this company, they would have listened to me at the start instead of scrambling like idiots last second. I left, and then CFO sent me one massive text, not even a call. Basically begging me to come back. Lol. I just ghosted him because he's pretty useless in terms of connections. I have no plans to job search at the moment, and may be thinking about enjoying a couple weeks to myself before I continue my career. I have notified some of my connections that I am free, and already being headhunted, so I'm fairly confident I can enter a gig when I need to. Pretty grateful for that, honestly. Been enjoying my Monday thus far at home, finally catching up on the boys and 3-body problem. I personally think this is a win-win for both the bookkeeper and me, but thank you everyone for the advice. I've also been curious to other fields in accounting. I've done PA at before, worked at local firms, and an industry, S-Corp gig, so if anyone has any recommendations to explore, I'd be down to explore them too.